Presidential promise. President Biden spoke publicly today for the first time since his party's decisive defeat. His message to all Americans and the promise to the incoming Trump administration.
Breaking news, another cut. The Federal Reserve drops interest rates again for a time in a row this year. Why there's growing concern this could be the last one for a while.
And states of emotion. For many Americans, feelings about the election are still running high. An expert shares her tips for better managing the highs and the lows.
Well, thanks so much for being with us on another busy news day. We are going to start with the White House transition. President Biden is pledging a peaceful transfer of power to the incoming Trump administration.
The president made his first public remarks about the election earlier today from the Rose Garden. He praised Vice President Kamala Harris for running a, quote, inspired campaign. Biden also celebrated the accomplishments of his administration.
We have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people.
NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor joins us now. So, Yamiche, the president spoke for about 7 minutes today, and one of the things he said was, quote, setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. I wonder what else stands out to you from his speech today.
Well, President Biden was really trying to do two things. He was trying to honor the sadness that is coursing through the Democratic Party, and he was also trying to give people a mission and a purpose for how to move forward. So in that vein, he was talking about the fact that this isn't a country that believes in peaceful transitions of powers. He also talked about the fact that this really does solidify that the integrity of our elections are solid. But he also talked about the fact that he thought Vice President Harris did a formidable job in running, and he said that this is not the end, that people can go forward and know that they have power to continue up the fight if they were backing Vice President Harris. So definitely trying to really, I think, console Democrats, also tell the country we're going to be okay is what he said, but also telling Republicans and President-elect Trump that they are now welcome for the transition here. Kate Sinclair.
And Yamiche, you have some reporting, I know, on Democrats trying to grapple with Vice President Harris's loss. They're pointing fingers at everything from President Biden to immigration to what they consider the old guard of the Democratic Party. Tell us about some of the conversations you've had.
That's right. Well, there is a lot of soul searching going on inside the Democratic Party right now, and there's a lot of finger pointing. You have someone like Senator Bernie Sanders saying that the Democratic Party has left and abandoned the working class, and now the working class has abandoned the Democratic Party. You have some people who are pointing fingers at President Biden, saying that he should have never run for a second term, that he should have also dropped out much earlier if he was going to do this. There are some who are also pointing to the advisors that were really at the top of Vice President Harris's campaign, saying that they're on Obama level, Obama era talent, and that they didn't really understand the culture or the candidate that they were dealing with. And then you have some people who said the vice president herself should have talked more about the economy, talked more about kitchen table issues, and less about president-elect being a threat to democracy. So there's a lot of pointing, a lot of reckoning going on. One source told me just a few minutes ago that they feel like this could be a decades-long loss for Democrats because they're looking down at 2028 and 2032 and seeing whether or not this is the party that's ever going to really be able to have a presidential pick that's going to be really resonating with the country in the way that President-elect Trump did. So just a lot of conversations going on and a lot of emotions, frankly. Kate Sinclair.
All right, Yamiche Alcindor with that analysis. Thank you.
We are also following breaking news on the economy.
The Federal Reserve announced it is cutting interest rates by 0.25 percentage point. It's the second rate cut by the central bank since September.
NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans is with us on SEG. So, Christine, we heard from the Federal Reserve Chair earlier today. Investors were kind of waiting to see if he had any comments about President Trump, did he?
Yeah, he's speaking right now, as a matter of fact, and he just was asked, quite frankly, is a new administration that wants a lot of tariffs and tax cuts, maybe big deficits, is this administration going to change the way they are addressing interest rates? And this is what he said.
In the near term, the election will have no effects on our policy decisions. We don't know what the timing and substance of any policy changes will be. We therefore don't know what the effects on the economy would be, specifically whether and to what extent those policies would matter for the achievement of our goal variables, maximum employment and price stability.
So for the past half hour or so, he's been answering questions from reporters, asking everything from, if Donald Trump asks you, President Trump asks you to leave your post, will you? And he says no. And do you think you'd have to? And he said no. So he's in there for the job for the rest of his term, he says here. President Trump has been critical of the Fed. He has said that he thinks he knows more than the people who work at the Federal Reserve, and he would like to be able to weigh in whether you should raise or cut interest rates.
And Christine, we know that last rate cut was 0.5 percentage point, right? So this one is a quarter. How should we be looking at that?
We should be looking at this as the Fed thinks it's getting better, getting back to normal inflation, but it is still eyeing a strong job market, the Fed chief called solid, still eyeing inflation numbers that are a little higher than normal. So you don't want to be cutting interest rates too much in what is still a strong economy. Otherwise, it revs back up again and it spins off inflation. Remember, the Fed's job, it's called a dual mandate, right? It has to keep prices stable and keep employment strong. And that's everything that they're trying to do.
Is the next meeting December?
It's in December.
So could they cut rates again?
So, yep, they could cut rates again, or they could pause. Right now, about 70% of people think that the betting numbers are that 70% of people think that that they will cut 25 basis points. But there are some who think that the economy is strong enough that they could pause here.
Is that another quarter? Sorry, I don't speak basis.
I know. You know what? I shouldn't. I'm going to put money in the swear jar.
Every time you say